I think I was on mute. I think I'm okay now. Thank you for attending today's webinar about content management and mobile apps. Content management is, of course, very much related with GDPR. So our topic is the consent management in mobile apps, applications, and their relation with GDPR, which will eventually ensure compliance and build trust. First of all, about about the host of this event, CFE certification. CFE certification is an independent auditing company accredited by UCAS and IAS and operates in many countries. A UK-based company, and it's a member of British Education Accreditation Authority, CPD certification service, and CFE Cert is a member of different bodies and provides many services, including gap analysis, IT certification, business continuity, and many more. So about this academy, today I am a presenter, and I will talk about myself. First of all, I am a lawyer doing business since 2016 about data protection, privacy, and I completed my master's in Tilburg University in Holland, and where I live now currently. And in the meantime, I'm a CIPPE, which is the Certified International Privacy Professional certification that is accredited by IAPP, and I'm also a lead auditor of ISO 27 family, including ISO 27701, which is the privacy framework that is included to the General Information Security Framework. So today we will have an overview about GDPR first of all, and what is GDPR? GDPR is a regulation protecting EU citizens and their personal data. There's a very similar version that is applicable in UK. It's called UK GDPR. They are 99% same. So what I'm speaking about, consent and all that applications, are also correct for the UK version as well. So it basically, what GDPR does, it regulates all data related businesses. And when I say businesses, I say that GDPR is a very business system and infrastructure agnostic regulation. Its main concern is ensuring data protection and privacy, and gives total control of personal data to data subject, to the owners of data. When I say total control, it's a figurative speaking. Of course, data is a very fluid structure, but without the rights, the human rights that we are, it's a human rights aspect. So that's how the control is delivered back to the data subject. So what is important about GDPR in mobile applications? First of all, GDPR is a very is a regulation that is finding the mistakes, let's say, with very hefty figures. GDPR fines can go up to 20 million or 4% of the annual global turnover of the preceding financial year, and which one is higher will be used. So the key principles of GDPR is a very important aspect in that sense, because the importance of GDPR compliance in mobile apps not only leaves is not only limited with hefty fines, but also it is a matter building trust, building user trust. For example, in 2020's Cisco Consumer Privacy Survey, 84% of respondents replied that they care about their data privacy, and 48% have already switched companies or services over data privacy concerns. So it's 48% is almost half of the respondents. So it's a very important figure. This GDPR compliance allows data security, enhances the data security level. Of course, it gives safeguards against data breaches, and that will lead to prevention of reputational damage. For example, in 2018, British Airways suffered a massive data breach where hackers stole the personal data and financial details of approximately 500,000 customers. So this breach led to, first, significant loss of customer trust and confidence. Second, negative media coverage, and of course, the public scrutiny. Then a sharp decline in stock prices followed these news, and regulatory fines and legal consequences just came around 100 and almost 200 million pounds worth regulatory fines were given against the British Airways. So the long-term damage, the brand's reputation and customer loyalty is still continuing to this day. So once we come to the importance of GDPR compliance, we can see that ensuring transparent data handling, complying with legal requirements, and enhancing credibility and user confidence are very important aspects. So we come to the key principles of GDPR now. In Article 12, we talk about transparency, which is the clear information about the data that we use. And then we come to the control, which is the Article 18, which gives us the user access and correction of data when necessary. And also the Article 7 consent, which is the main issue that we're going to talk about today, which is about explicit users explicit approval for data processing. So when we are talking about consent, of course, there's the definitions. It should be freely given, specific, informed, and unambiguous. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the definition from as a reverse method from an example of a not freely given consent. For example, since we are talking about mobile apps, for example, think of a mobile app that requires users to agree to data sharing with third parties as a condition to accessing basic app features. So if you want to use the app, you have to give consent. Without providing a consent, you can't use it, and there is no option to decline that. So first of all, it's not freely given, and generally when you see something like that, this is not a valid consent. So the specific method, specific consent is the one that is only given to a specific matter. For example, a data sharing, as I explained in my example, or something else. For example, cookies in web applications. So this this consent has to be informed. So the user has to know what the consent is being requested for. And also the unambiguity, it has to be a clear language where choice is apparent. So the mobile app side, the provider has to give proof of this concept, and the proof has to demonstrate the user's consent when it is requested, when it is necessary, and also this consent has to be withdrawn anytime, just as easy as giving consent. Sometimes this may not be the case in the digital world. We see that you can give consent very easily, but withdrawing is sometimes almost impossible. So this is also an important matter that has to be taken into account. And also the granular consent, which means separate consents for different purposes. So like this, the one that I, as example, the one that I gave, the data sharing was one that data protection activity, data processing activity, sorry. And for example, if you want to do something else, you have to request another consent. So we defined consent. We gave some important aspects of it. So what should be the design of consent? Because if you want to request consent from your users in a mobile app, there should be some kind of like a mechanism for this. So the initial consent request has to be in a very clear language and simple language, and there should be explicit opt-in methods for different categories, and the purposes of data collection has to be stated. So we can see that there should be the consent management should be made in a user-friendly manner where preferences can be easily chosen, and of course, if necessary, there should be updates applied on that consent mechanism. For example, let's also give what a valid consent or a not good designed consent mechanism is by giving solid examples. A dating app called Grindr, which is used in many parts of the world, different parts of the world. In 2021, the Norwegian Data Protection Authority fined Grindr about 6 million euros, I guess it's around 6.3, something like that, for sharing user data with third parties without valid consent. So this is an app, and when you don't have valid consent from your users and you share with third parties, there is a hefty fine to pay. And of course, famous TikTok decision of 2022 Dutch Data Protection Authority fined TikTok 750,000 euros for failing to provide a privacy statement in Dutch language and also not obtaining valid consent from minors. So I'm not digging minor subject in details on this in this webinar, but maybe we can do something about it in the future. So yeah, when we implement the consent mechanism in a mobile app, we should know that we have to guide the users. So and also GDPR gives that responsibility on data controllers, which are the owners of mobile apps. So the user interface, the UI should be very smooth with pop-ups or models that request the consent, and also in-app notifications should emerge in case of changes either in the consent or in the policies, legal policies. So when you talk about granularity, we can say that, and flexibility, we can say that category-based consent is a very important part of the mechanism here, because category-based consent allows users to grant or deny permission for specific categories of data processing, rather than a blanket consent. Blanket consent means general consent. So, like for not for specific purposes, but a general consent for unambiguous, like ambiguous reasons. So you can implement this by providing clear options for each data category. For example, marketing, analytics, or etc., and ensure that transparency and user control is in place. So when you store and manage consent, so once you have the design and you have the mechanism in place, you start storing consents and their records. So how you can manage that? The most important side is, of course, record keeping, because you have to have certain timestamps for your for the consent you receive, and of course the versions, because you may change the consent time to time, or privacy policies time to time. So you have to have timestamps of these versions as well. So another thing is the audit trails. So once you are auditing the consents, you have to have certain trails where you don't lose your way. So another thing is a secure storage, data security. Of course, cyber security is a very important aspect of both GDPR and mobile app domain in general, and we can say that it's a protection against unauthorized access in a nutshell. But what you have to do is you have to have implement strong authentication methods. You have to encrypt data. You have to have regularly update your app from a security point of view, and conduct audits, of course, and educate both your users and your raise awareness within your organization, and just follow the state of art. That's what GDPR calls state of art technical measures. Of course, this is the this is a topic where we have to talk maybe full day. I'm just gonna pass now, but that is quite important. So when we have when there is consent, of course there is also consent withdrawal. So how you should be withdrawing consent? First of all, it has to have an easy access. So the methods for withdrawal should be very simple. Just like you give consent, accept it, and it has to have immediate effect. So once you withdraw your consent, it shouldn't be it shouldn't wait for days or even hours. So it should be effective immediately. And once the confirmation is given, the a notice or a confirmation information that confirms the withdrawal of consent is completed should be given to the users. So how can we inform users? So the important part of consent is making it an informed choice. So how can we do that? What we should do is we should adopt a privacy policy with very comprehensive details and has easy access. So everybody will be able to reach that when they they deem necessary. For example, so what should be included in a privacy policy? A privacy policy in a mobile app should include, first, of course, Article 13, data collection, what data is collected and how. Second, a purpose, why the data is collected, again in Article 13. So how the data is used, the data usage aspect of it, again, Article 13. Then you have to give information about information on user rights and how the users will be able to exercise them. That is given in between articles 13 to 22, sorry. And the data sharing matter, which is whether data is shared with third parties or not. Remember the grinder decision of Norwegian DPA. So, of course, the security measures that you are taking, how data is protected, you can inform your users about it. And data retention, how long the data is retained. Security is in Article 32, and data retention is Article 13 of GDPR. So, and in the end, you give your contact details, how users can contact the app regarding their data protection, privacy concerns, or requests. So, in a nutshell, Article 13, the user rights between 13 and 22, and Article 33 are important articles that regulate the privacy policy. And that's how you keep the transparency and keeping your users informed about your processing activities. Another important aspect is, of course, the compliance part of the topic, which are done through regular audits and updating yourself, updating the organization about the general regulatory landscape. So the best way to do is from my perspective, is to secure, to form a information management system within the organization no matter how big or how small it is, and keep on following that framework. Of course, if you want to obtain valid consents from a regulatory view, where users will allow your users to give consent to your processing methods, then there are two types of tools that you can use. One is consent management platforms, CMPs, which are ready to implement efficient consent mechanisms. And the other one is SDK integration, which is the abbreviation of Software Development Kit. It's a collection of software tools and libraries for building applications. That's what SDKs are. So how you can do the SDK version? You embed the SDKs that offers user consent forms, and then the consent management operates. The SDKs track and manage user consent preferences, and of course, in the end, it's a valid. It's designed in a GDPR compliant manner. You can ensure that you have compliance from that point of view. For example, this is Affili's consent tool. Affili, I'm the Chief Privacy Officer of Affili. Affili is a consent management platform, privacy tech company. At Affili, we prioritize building trust and respect user choices through exceptional consent management experience. Our consent management platform ensures that the data you collect through cookies are stored in full compliance with regulations such as UK GDPR, EU GDPR, and Turkish Data Protection Law KVKK. So whether on your website or on your mobile application, Affili empowers you to manage data correctly, safeguarding user privacy and enhancing trust. As you can see in that CMP, we can see that there are informed on the left. There is an information about cookies, and underneath that there are three buttons where you will be able to give consent, reject, and change according to your preferences. On the right, once there's a panel where users are able to customize their preferences later, and there's a consent ID on top where the data controllers, mobile app owners, will be able to trace the consents from when they receive a request or a question from DPA. So this is basically what the ideal design as per GDPR. So when we come to important takeaways, a summary, we can see that the structured consent is important, and the structure of the consent, the design of the consent is very important, because once you cannot integrate a compliant design, the difference between not having a consent and having a dysfunctioning consent is basically same. So if you want to do it, do it as compliant as possible. So design is a key aspect here, but not on interface level, but also in the architectural level, data architectural level. So consent should be working. When the user rejects everything, the tracking shouldn't continue. So if you do that, you build trust and compliance and avoid, of course, the financial and customer risk. And again, this has to be regularly updated. That's why generally, as a Philly, we advise our enterprise customers not to tackle this issue in-house, but instead solve this issue through CMP services, because CMP service providers like Efili always follow the regulation, always update the product according to the regulative changes and the business needs. So it's like it is a specialized area now, and it also allows user transparency, because a good designed CMP module has always gives users empowers users in terms of privacy, in terms of transparency, and in terms of their choice. So thank you for listening to me. If any questions, I would be happy to answer them. So there's a link that was shared. You can click and answer the questions, and it will help CFE to design the future webinars and services, of course. Okay, then I think no questions arise. You can follow me in LinkedIn. By the way, I'm very active in LinkedIn, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions that may arise in the future. And looking forward to see you on the future topic.